northerly breeze, northeasterly, could cause a few problems swirling around the Kooyong Stadium as the afternoon unfolds. But really looking forward to this first clash between Mark Philippoussis and Pete Sampras. John Fitzgerald, tell us about the Scud and welcome to you.
Well, he really came of age, didn't he, Sandy, last year, particularly at the end of the year when he performed so brilliantly at Davis Cup level. Won San Jose at the beginning of last year, and his big one there is Indian Wells, one of the Masters Series tournaments around the world on the ATP Tour. Magnificent performance there. He followed it up with some pretty good quarter-final appearances too. Had a bit of a setback at Wimbledon, as we know, with the knee problem he endured, but came back very strongly at the end of the year, and already in this tournament has showed us that he's in excellent form early in the season.
The winner of this match will play Andre Agassi in the final tomorrow. Will it be this man? What an extraordinary record he has. He was at #1 in the world for a record 276 weeks. That is something what I'm sure will not be beaten for some considerable time. And there you can see 5 victories in the past 12 months. He's going to be a tough nut to crack, but we'll see what the Scud can do when we return. Our umpire, by the way, is Alice Yeo from Singapore.
Anyone can serve up traditional Australian chips, but making traditional Japanese rice crackers is an art. Sakata, Australia's favourite rice cracker.
There's a lot of sales around town right now, but if you want furniture that's different, furniture that's stylish, furniture that's fun, furniture that doesn't cost the earth, go to Dare Gallery, or you'll be sorry.
Around the world, there's a shortage of qualified IT professionals. E-commerce, networking, programming, website development, database design. All you need is ambition and quality training. The career opportunities are endless. With 30 years experience in IT training and guaranteed job placement assistance, we'll help you get started. Interim Technology Training Institute. Call 132784.
Anyone can serve up traditional Australian chips, but making traditional Japanese rice crackers is an art. Sakata, Australia's favourite rice cracker.
There's a shortage of qualified IT professionals. With 30 years experience in IT training and guaranteed job placement assistance, we'll help you get started. Interim Technology Training Institute. Call 132784.
When my heart's set on something creamy. When I'd like something really rich. When I really want to go over the top. Whenever I like. Wendy's Flake Shake. Yum.
Real pineapple. Real flavour.
www.discountnewcars.com.au turns the business of buying a new car around the other way. In just 3 clicks, you get the discount, you do the deal.
The warm-up just about completed for Pete Sampras and Mark Philippoussis. They did meet, of course, in a quarter-final clash at Wimbledon last year. Sadly for Mark Philippoussis, after taking the first set, he was forced to retire through injury, but he's back now. Sampras has dipped a little to #3. He's seeded 3, and for those of you watching the draw prior to this, we'll be talking about that during the day, Fitzy, but that top half of the draw contains Sampras, Agassi and Philippoussis.
Certainly top-heavy, isn't it? And it sounds like a pretty poor ranking for Pete Sampras these days, doesn't it? #3 in the world.
He's plummeted.
He really did come back strongly, though. Saw the ATP Tour finals last year in Hanover. He really convincingly beat Andre in the final, and he looked to me like he was back to his best. served magnificently in that match and was moving around the court like a spring chicken.
They talk about the luck of the draw, and I think that's exactly the case for this year's Australian Open. I mean, you look down the bottom half of the draw, and all of a sudden, someone like the defending champion, Evgeny Kafelnikov, could find himself not an easy run, but a run that could see him get through towards the semis and final.
And keep in mind, Sandy, this matchup, the same as in the quarterfinals at Wimbledon last year, when Philippoussis really was giving Pete a bit of a shake early in the match. Led a set. It was very even early in the second. And Mark really, unfortunately, had that knee problem.
Sampras has beaten Krajicek, but he was taken to 3 sets, a tiebreaker in the third. And Philippoussis also taken to 3 by Kafelnikov.
So a pretty casual opening game there from Pete, just rolling his arm over, getting the feel for the balls in the court, and of course the heat, which tends to make conditions a little faster on these rebound ace courts. But I was very impressed with Mark in his first match against Evgeny Kafelnikov 2 days ago. He really started picking the ball up early, very quickly in the match. From the first game, he looked like he was timing it beautifully. And that's a good sign early in the summer.
Yes, and looked particularly good in that third set when he only lost 1 game. Here he is serving, love 1 in the first.
As you mentioned, Sandy, the winner of this match to take on Andre Agassi in the final of the Colonial Classic here at Kooyong. And what a pleasure it is to see Andre back to his best. Really completed an amazing resurgence last year by becoming the first player in 7 years, apart from, well, Pete Sampras had the #1 ranking for 6 years straight, and Andre was the first man to take that away from him at the end of the year. Just great to have him back at the pinnacle of the men's game.
First ace for Philippoussis. Make that second ace, Philippoussis.
Well, the rhythm on his serve, Sandy, the other day was magnificent. He was serving close to 2 aces a game against Kafelnikov.
25, wasn't it? For the match.
Foot fault called. You can see the speed of that second serve giving Philippoussis problems. Really shooting through off the court, catching him very late. He was on the back foot.
Mind you, there's probably not a player who's looking forward to the Australian Open more than Pete Sampras. After missing last year with the back problems, he was restricted, I think, to something like 14 tournaments for the year. It's great to have him back. But he is in that tough top half of the draw.
Boy, it's top heavy, isn't it? The Australian Open draw for next week.
Sampras holds serve. Games going with serve in the opening 3. The American leading 2-1.
Guess how much you'll save during the Michael Hill Jeweller January sale? Up to 50% off. That's as much as half price. So if you want to save up to 50% off at Michael Hill Jeweller, why are you still sitting there?
Good question, Mark.
We joint ventured our manufacturing facility with them, and we're very happy with the result.
The club signed them up to handle all our match day staffing requirements.
We've appointed them total facility manager for our geoscience complex because of their proven track record throughout Australia.
We've formed a significant agreement with them for all staffing requirements.
Which outsourcing experts are they talking about?
Skilled.
Skilled. Your flexible workforce into 2000 and beyond.
The Philippoussis clan watching their charger. Nick down there with the sunglasses on, his father.
Cashy's covered up
Yes.
covered up his six-pack today.
But they'd be happy with the start of that, although I think Pete Sampras saying, come on. And he's giving him the stare too. He's adamant that ball was wide. Alice Yeo of Singapore unmoved.
I'd say the heart rate up just a little bit, though, because Pete was adamant that was out. And
My word.
He wouldn't stand there unless he was convinced. So, particularly that lines person on the far sideline, under pressure now. Sandy, it looks like both players having just a little bit of trouble controlling the ball early in this match. You know, the fast conditions certainly, it becomes more prevalent when the sun is shining, and also when it gets a little windy. On rebound 8 in the heat, the balls even get faster, and they're very difficult to control. And both players struggling here to get the ball back into play off the serve. There's the first real good one from Sampras. Met it early. He's bunted the ball low. You saw he didn't take much of a swing, though.
Well, in the last couple of days, that breeze has come up in late afternoon, but it's arrived early today.
You could see that ball move, couldn't you, off the surface?
Yes, it really jumped out of the ground, so you're certainly right. Very quick.
And anyone that serves like that, Sandy, at the Australian Open has a chance, because in these conditions, You know, it takes away a bit of the advantage that the baseliners have had over the last few years, provided it stays hot.
Yeah. Well, he got to a speed last year of 229 kilometres an hour. That was his fastest time serve.
Have you had a little wager yet for next week?
No, but we're just assessing the field. I think you'd have to look very closely. And now that the draw has been made, Sampras has done well against Agassi in the past 12 months.
Perfect volley there from Pete. The off forehand volley. Hasley hit that one on the line. Look how small the backswing is there on the volley. Terrific technique. Hit that in his sleep.
In fact, it's interesting. Sampras has gone 4-1 in matches against Agassi in the last 12 months, but in finals, most importantly, 3-0. Sampras way. Having said that, I might have a flut on Andre. Games continue to go with serve in this opening set. Best of 3 sets. Sampras leading 3 games to 2.
Well, how are you doing at home? Are we about to make you a millionaire?
I hope so. Next ball down is number 17.
And an official warm welcome to our official scrutineers.
Indeed, next ball number 40. And what would you do with $1 million?
The mind boggles. Next ball is down.
34.
And here's the lucky last ball.
Good luck.
Take a shot at $1 million. Apply for an ANZ home loan before January 31.
This Saturday, you can afford to tell everyone everything at the lowest ever per minute STD rate. Only 1 cent per minute plus 40-cent connection fee. Telstra Easy Rates for every one of you.
Come one, come all to the annual Harvey Norman software sale. $1.5 million worth of stock must go. Prices slashed to a massive 80%. Software from only $3. You can't afford to miss it. Limited stock 1 week only from Harvey Norman.
Crowds continuing to pour in here at Kooyong. It's great to see on this 3rd day of the Colonial Classic. Many of them, I'm sure, keen to see Mark Philippoussis perform against Pete Sampras. He's made a solid start. He's serving now at 2-3 in the first.
Net.
Pete not convinced at the moment that the calls are going his way. Alessio under a bit of pressure at the moment. The man in the chair. Pete suggesting that one went out over the service line off the net. But Philippoussis having another crack at a first serve. Yeah, good solid volley from Mark there. Similar in some ways to the Sampras volley we saw in the previous game. Just a short little backswing. Controlled the ball down the line. Got it deep. The way to play the percentages. Problem maybe Philippoussis faces, Sandy, here though today is that 2 days ago against Yevgeny, he put in a poor service game. 1 poor service game in each set. Yep. If you put in a poor service game against Pete Sampras, though, you get very limited opportunities to break back. So the consistency on the serve, okay, it's good to play a lot of very convincing games, but you need to avoid the bad one.
Yes, I think there was a couple in each of the first 2 sets, wasn't there, which caused them to be taken to tiebreakers.
Philippoussis.
Another solid service game. We've talked about the draw and Philippoussis. We'll talk about Leighton Hewitt in just a moment.
The Colonial Classic, proudly brought to you by Ford, Cotties, LG, Life's Good, and AAPT Smart Chat.
Sampras at 3-all. And talking about that draw, Fitzy, Leighton Hewitt is in the bottom half of the draw and has what could be seen as a pretty good run.
Yeah, I think so. I like the look of Leighton's draw. I didn't feel there was any player in there he couldn't beat before the semi-finals. Not that you're going to beat all of those players every time you go out on the court with them, but I think there's a real opportunity there for the young fella. And there's no question he's in good form. Sometimes there's a fine line about having enough matches to get yourself into form and maybe playing a few too many before going into the Australian Open, but I think for certainly a player like Pat Rafter, he loves to play a lot of matches leading into majors, and I think Leighton might be a similar type of player. Certainly be confident going into the Australian Open next week.
Big service game for Pete Sampras. He leads 4-3 in the first set.
I find Channel 7 is informative.
Usually I've watched 7.
And I like the presenters.
I think I just like the way they relate to each other.
I would watch other channels, but Channel 7 would be my first option.
Just out of the blue, I changed to Channel 7 and found it a lot better.
Through all the hard times,
he's always had a zest for life.
Sometimes miracles happen. A little boy's dream is about to come true on a very special Kids Ward, Sunday on Channel 7.
Pete Sampras last year, 48 matches, he won 40 and lost 8. Mark Philippoussis won 33 and lost 17. Here he is serving now with new balls. These will be like bullets.
15.
Oh, that's a perfect serve there. He didn't try to over-serve that one, Mark. Takes the racket head around the outside of the ball, and watch it curve here at the end. Impossible to get your racket on that one.
Net!
Yeah, good return from Pete. Very limited backswing. You can't afford to take too big a backswing when you're trying to return serves of this caliber. It's really more of a block than anything else. Try to keep the margin of error as high as you can. I think he's got that serve mastered in this game.
And good to see it's controlled, isn't it?
Yes, really serving within himself. It's always a danger. You start to serve well and you try to get better and better and better, and sometimes you just got to take the foot off the gas slightly and just serve within yourself, within your capabilities.
Philippoussis.
So So Pete not showing a lot of intensity there, probably because he hasn't got ahead in any of the Philippoussis service games yet. I think we'll see a different man if he all of a sudden gets to love 30. Mark will be upset with that. He had a real opportunity there. Pete didn't do enough with that volley, gave Philippoussis the opportunity to have a crack at that backhand.
Well, with these two players, I don't think we can expect too many long rallies, but that's the longest one in the match today.
Yeah, perfect forehand volley. And his footwork is so clean and quick, Pete. That first step is just lightning. As soon as he sees the return going across court, his reaction is immediate, and he's there in plenty of time to make a simple volley.
40-50.
Now Mark Philippoussis. Just pointing out to Alice Yeo exactly where he thought that ball landed. Yes, well done by Sampras. He holds serve and leads 5-4.
Around the world, there's a shortage of qualified IT professionals. E-commerce, networking, programming, website development, database design. All you need is ambition and quality training. The career opportunities are endless. With 30 years experience in IT training and guaranteed job placement assistance, we'll help you get started. Interim Technology Training Institute. Call 132784.
When my heart's set on something creamy. When I'd like something really rich. When I really want to go over the top. Whenever I like. Wendy's Flake Shake. Yum.
No, that's right, that's right.
It's the Colonial Classic, mate. Just explaining this. Sampras leading 5-4 in this first set. The winner of this to play Andre Agassi in the final tomorrow. So now it's Philippoussis serving to stay in the first set.
magnificent from Philippoussis. That's the shot he used so well in the Davis Cup final in Nice. Just backing away here. That's the first one. Doesn't get that away from Sampras. But this is not an easy shot. Look how far behind the baseline Philippoussis was, and he easily hit that for a winner. It's tough to imagine how much power that takes. Enormous strength on the forehand, particularly Philippoussis.
Philippoussis.
And this is the way this year's Colonial Classic is unfolding. As you can see, Andre Agassi, after defeating Thomas Enqvist, is through to the final. And it's now out of Sampras or Philippoussis to take him on tomorrow afternoon. Here's Sampras serving at 5-all.
Three-quarter serve there from Pete, just taking Mark out of court. Still had a reasonably difficult half volley. He made it look so simple. I think the conditions here contributing to the difficulty factor in getting the ball back into play.
Yeah, Sampras.
6-5 in the first. The American leads.
There's a shortage of qualified IT professionals. With 30 years experience in IT training and guaranteed job placement assistance, we'll help you get started. Interim Technology Training Institute. Call 132784.
We joint ventured our manufacturing facility with them, and we're very happy with the result.
The club signed them up to handle all our match day staffing requirements.
We've appointed them total facility manager for our geoscience complex because of their proven track record throughout Australia.
We've formed a significant agreement with them for all staffing requirements.
Which outsourcing experts are they talking about?
Skilled.
Skilled. Your flexible workforce into 2000 and beyond.
6-5, Sampras leading, so Mark Philippoussis serving to force the tie-break. You may have just joined us. We'll keep you informed of the draw that has been made this morning for the Australian Open in both men's and women's. Ace number 7 for Philippoussis. And he is in the top half of the draw, and a tough half too, because it contains Agassi and also Sampras.
So inevitably here, though, this match heading towards a tiebreaker, no player has looked even close to breaking the opposition's serve. So 1 point away from a breaker.
Game Philippoussis. 16 all.
Well, Philippoussis has played 2 tiebreakers so far this week, has has won one of them. Sampras has played one and won one.
He's got to be happy with that. First time really Mark's looked in control of a Pete Sampras point here. Set up by the excellent return down the line. Pete pushed the volley a little bit too close to the Philippoussis forehand there. That's dangerous. Just a bit too casual there, Pete. Weight moving backwards a little bit too much on the backhand drive.
Philippoussis.
So a good spot to be in for Mark Philippoussis. 3-0 here in this tiebreaker. And 1 point here from the Sampras serve would be quite telling. Well, he tried that backhand down the line a couple of times through that first set and wasn't able to come up with the goods. But that one, well, it doesn't secure him the first set, but it gives him a huge advantage now.
That could, however.
5-0. Philippoussis.
Beautiful there. Copybook backhand volley.
1 point saved. The players change ends. They have one to come. Sampras fights back, taking the two Philippoussis serves, and Mark, he is on the board.
And Mark getting caught there, Sandy, really didn't do anywhere near enough with that half volley. Maybe he should have propped, gone back, and had a swing at the forehand. He had to make a split-second decision. So now this breaker tightening up. Only one mini break remaining. And after leading 5-love, if a player comes back and wins the next 4 points against you, you start thinking about it. So the moment of truth now in this first set. Philippoussis serving directly into the sun from the southern end. Needs 2 points here on his own serve to close out this first set. Ooh, that was tight.
But I think it was wide.
Here's a close look. Oh, I'm not so sure.
I think there was a lot of line there too. There's the first set though. To Mark Philippoussis, taking the tiebreaker 7 points to 4.
Ah, there's nothing like a vacation for unstiffening one's tail and getting the wildebeest out of one's whiskers. Good company, the calm of the ocean, and the particular effervescence of Schweppes. Oh, would you believe it?
Christopher.
Be right back. Frightfully ugly, but useful nonetheless. Schweppes, just a little more bite.
This holiday, get something really beautiful to show off. At Brescia Furniture, we have great new stock, and we're celebrating with huge reductions on our entire range. Some items are just half price. So hurry, or you'll have nothing to show.
Inbox is here, and it's free.
The Nivea deodorant you can trust now has a larger roll-on, so it's easier to apply. The Nivea deodorant range for men and women. It's the antiperspirant that cares for your skin.
Shock, shock. 40 Wing Shock stock take sale ends Sunday. Save 10, 20, 30, 40%, even up to 50% at 40 Wing stock take sale. Save up to 50%.
Wink, wink. Shock, shock. 40 Wings.
Mark Philippoussis taking the first set in 37 minutes in a tiebreaker, 7 points to 4. Pete Sampras just taking a brief break. We have details of the draw for those people who may have just joined us for the Australian Open, men's and women's. We'll be keeping you up to date with that during the day. In the meantime, let's hear from Pete Sampras and his thoughts on his opponent of the moment, Mark Philippoussis.
I think Mark is at a point now where, you know, his rival Pat Rafter's won 2 majors, and, you know, he'd like to get to that level. And I think he knows that now. I think mentally he knows he should be winning majors, or at least contending, and he has. But I think this year is a telling year for Mark to see how far he's going to take his game, and because he's got the game. There's no question he's got the ingredients to do it. It's just mentally you need to put it together at the right time. But, you know, he's going to be around because he's got a big game.
Yes, fair point. And it is a big year for Mark Philippoussis. He's almost made it to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, I think Pete was spot on. You know, he put it very simply too. He said he'll be around because he's got the big game.
Yeah.
But the question mark in the past for Mark has been that he hasn't stayed with it for 7 matches through a major championship, and that's the step he's got to take now.
Now, you're saying that is a mental attitudinal problem?
Well, I think he has to be prepared to stay out there and grind in matches that are tight, because when you win major championships, you invariably have to win 2 or 3 close matches. You might have a few easier ones, but over the period of 2 weeks, out of 7 matches, you're likely to have a couple of close ones. Some of them might be 5-setters. You've got to be able to get through those. I mean, he nearly did it at the US Open, going down to Pat Rafter in 98, Sandy, but he hasn't quite made it there yet.
Now, just changing tack for a moment, as we have a look at how this draw is unfolding in the Colonial Classic. As you can see, we're down to the penultimate, with Sampras and Philippoussis jousting for a crack at Andre Agassi. You talk about 5-set matches. We've talked about Leighton Hewitt. He has a good draw for the Australian Open, but there is a young man who hasn't had a lot of experience in 5-set matches. Could that tell against him come the Open?
No, well, Mark, compared to Leighton, has had a lot more experience.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, there's about a 4-year gap between the two of them, so nearly a 5-year gap, a 4-year gap. So Leighton at 18 still has tons to learn. He has to go through that experience. He's done it in Davis Cup over 5 sets, but he hasn't really had the opportunity yet to win a lot of matches in a row over 5 sets in a Grand Slam. Maybe this is the time for him. Hasn't experienced a lot of 5-setters yet.
No.
Bit of an ordinary mistake there from Mark. Got himself in a bit of a tangle. Started moving his body weight backwards. Just tried to thrash that for a winner instead of playing it conservatively into the corner. Having said that, there's not a lot of conservatism about Mark's game, is there? But at some stages, yeah, you probably have to incorporate a little bit of conservatism. But look at that service motion. Well, there's that running Sampras forehand. He's made that into a bit of a legendary shot, that running forehand. Hits it as good as anyone possibly the game's ever seen. But if Philippoussis serves like this, well, what can you do to try and break serve?
We've talked briefly about the men's draw for the Australian Open. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in Jelena Dokic and her possible path to the finals. Well, one person she will have to pass is Anna Kournikova.
Yeah, Hingis, it's tough to go past her. You know, just off the top of my head, I think probably Hingis, Serena Williams and Lindsay Davenport are the three to beat. By far the favourites, those three players in the women's draw.
Well, Dokic is in the Davenport quarter of the draw, if you like, with Kournikova and Evie Dominikovic as well.
Well fended off the body there by Philippoussis. That serve into his right hip. And that showed his strength, not being able to swing as freely as he would normally like. He still was able to generate enough power to win the point. But Pete doing some serving of his own in this match, as you would expect.
Amélie Mauresmo of France, who's seeded 7, could find herself playing Lindsay Davenport in the semis. She'll have to beat Lindsay if she's to have another crack at Martina Hingis, who's in the top half of the draw.
One game.
Oh, magnificent. And good movement, wasn't it, from the big man? Had to change direction here. That was a clever return of serve from Pete. It was just a block across court, and Philippoussis covering the court extremely well and using a lot of touch.
Ace number 10. So he's nearing his average of a couple a game.
It actually makes it tough to lose your serve if you can serve close to 2 aces a game.
It'd be great to start every game at 30 love, wouldn't it?
Well, you've got to do something drastically wrong to lose your serve from an automatic 30 love start.
Another service game to love. Philippoussis leads a set in hand and 2-1 in the second.
Now that is a sweet investment.
You have a retirement plan?
Oh, sure. Invest, get rich, retire at 45.
Well, I'm 58.
Huh? Oh, your retirement plan.
Who's looking out for your investments? E-Trade is the place to invest online with real-time quotes, breaking news and charts all free. And you trade with the speed of straight-through order processing. Someday we'll all invest this way. E-Trade.
Now, Dan, in life it's important to see the road that's in front of you. And what's in front of us today?
I don't know.
Ornery. First of all, grab hold of the wheel. 10 to 2. Terrific. Now, turning. That's it. Yeah, feel that? Precise, isn't it?
At least your Falcon will always do what you tell it to.
Welcome back to Kooyong, as you can see. Very good crowds here watching Mark Philippoussis and Pete Sampras. Philippoussis taking the first in a little over half an hour. So that top half of the men's draw sees, amongst others, Agassi, Todd Woodbridge, Mark Philippoussis, Richard Krajicek, Pete Sampras, Wayne Arthurs. Sampras will play Arthurs. Mark Woodford, Ivan Lubicic of Croatia, and Thomas Enquist. It's
and you throw in there players like Tim Henman and Carol Kuchera, who are both seeded.
Yeah.
11 and 14 respectively. That's a solid section, isn't it? But of course, the main interest, Sandy, is really the Pete Sampras, Richard Krajicek, Mark Philippoussis, Andre Agassi foursome, who are all there in that top half.
Yep. While in that bottom half, the door might just open for Leighton Hewitt. Also there is Jason Stoltenberg, Nicholas Kiefer, who's played well here this week, Tommy Haas, and Yevgeny Kafelnikov, the defending champion.
I think what will be interesting for Leighton is his matchup today with Alex Correcha, because that's a possible second round.
Correct.
In that section.
Yeah.
For next week as well. So Hewitt has to get past Paul Goldstein, who's a very good player from the US, to play the winner of Alex Correcha and Sergei Sargsyan of Armenia.
2 games.
So he'll do some homework today, Leighton, in Sydney.
Back to Philippoussis. 2-all, second set.
Well, an attempt there at a little clever wrong footing backhand across court from Pete, not able to pull it off. And again, he gets down early in the game against Philippoussis. And once he loses the first point or two, I'm not sure if he thinks there's a great deal of hope against the Philippoussis serve.
Philippoussis.
How's he going to break it? That's the question for Pete Sampras as Philippoussis leads 3-2.
Anyone can serve up traditional Australian chips. But making traditional Japanese rice crackers is an art. Sakata, Australia's favourite rice cracker.
When it comes to personal injury law, Tom Goodcamp from Stax knows every trick in the book. In fact, he wrote it, so he may not be the insurance company's best friend. Get Stax for your compensation.
Energizer's giving you the chance to win a trip for two to Wimbledon, Prince tennis kits and Energizer prizes. Ring this number and name Patrick Rafter's foundation.
Don't you ever give up?
No. This Saturday, you can afford to tell everyone everything at the lowest ever per minute STD rate. Only 1 cent per minute plus 40-cent connection fee. Telstra Easy Rates for every one of you.
Game's going with service in this second set. In the match to decide who will take on Andre Agassi in the final of the Colonial Classic tomorrow. Sampras at 2-3.
No 15.
So now Philippoussis has just an inch of daylight, coming up with a good forehand.
No.
Love 30. First time in a long while either player has made inroads on the opposition serve. Well, not enough. Couldn't control that second serve, jumping second serve from Sampras. Philippoussis not being able to do enough. A little mishit presented Sampras with the easy put away. But that's a good one.
There wasn't a lot wrong with the serve.
Well, it was a good serve, but it was more like a three-quarter serve from Pete, and I think Philippoussis just guessing a little bit.
Oh, Pete's having a look down at his man again.
Not happy with that lines judge. Second serve here. Break point to Philippoussis. Well, he was on that return, Mark. That might be as close as he gets because Sampras now has the first serve again on the second break point. Oh, but a wild one. Well, two opportunities on second serves. That's as good as you can expect against Pete Sampras.
That's what he was looking for.
It was. You've got to be able to do that on the break point, Sandy. He's got another one. Yeah, very good. Brought about by good footwork there from Philippoussis. Made the correct return. The short backswing on the return, he gets it low, and look at the good footwork there. Little skip to get into position. Pete just teasing Mark a little bit with that one. Couldn't put it away.
Wonderful point.
Juice. That's 1 to Sampras.
And that linesman, that's indecision. He changed his mind quickly 3 times there. He went in, out, in, and then he nearly thought about out again with his hands and finally settled for the good signal.
How was your day at the office, dear? Oh, I've had a shocker.
Not easy. These balls are coming very quickly. Good preparation from Philippoussis. When he gets those big legs bent there to prepare for those backhands, he can hit them as well as just about anybody.
I think that linesperson was saying, yes, please serve it down the centre.
Don't come wide again.
Finally, Sampras holds serve. He levels at 3-all, and an opportunity missed by Mark Philippoussis.
Well, you've got to hand it to Pete also. When he had to hit the second serve on the 2 break points, he was able to do it. On the third one, he produced an unreturnable first serve.
Depth in those forehand ground strokes, marvellous.
15 no.
What a pickup. Yes, Sampras, just a reflex action.
15.
Yeah, that was an extraordinary forehand. Gee. Made it look so casual, Pete.
all.
That's how you turn a defensive situation into pure attack in one stroke of the racket.
Ace number 12. And the Scud just sending a message out to Paul McNamee. Have that speed gun serviced and have it ready. I'll be there next week.
Make sure you oil the gun up.
I
don't know.
400,000 doesn't buy you much in Sydney, does it? Or does it? There's a new land release at the Sanctuary where house and land packages start from 395,000.
The Sanctuary. See for yourself, because it speaks for itself.
Dolphin. Anyone can serve up traditional Australian chips. But making traditional Japanese rice crackers is an art. Sakata, Australia's favourite rice cracker.
There's True Blue Millennium Savings at Hardware and General's by Australian Sale. We've got fair dinkum deals on Wattle Soligard Plus. CSR Bradford Acoustic and Thermal R 2.0 bats, just $39.90. Marquee Oakland Gloss Vanity, $385. Earl Pastels Basin Set, $170. Hot price on this Oldfields Tradesman step ladder. A ripper price on Gainsborough Trilocks. Plus great deals on BHP Aussie-made roofing materials. At Hardware and General, Winbourne Road, Brookvale, Boundary Road, Peakhurst and Barties Road, Marayong.
The way the draw has gone, Pete Sampras could meet Andre Agassi in the semi-finals of the Australian Open, but at the moment he's got his hands full with Mark Philippoussis. Philippoussis taking the first and leading 4-3 in the second. Sampras serving.
With us. Thank you. Thirteen.
Whoa! Root out. That ball, one way or the other, Sandy, was not going to come back. Had some smoke on it. Oh, beautiful volley from Pete.
40-50.
Racket head behind the ball made it look so simple. Serving a lot of balls at three-quarter pace, though, Sampras here.
Great work at the net by the American. Sampras holds serve.
4 games.
Match has now been in progress for just over 1 hour. 14 aces, 1 double fault to Philippoussis, 4 aces, 3 double faults to Sampras.
Pete not happy. Launched that one out of the stadium. Just apologising there. Just a rush of blood. Ball overruled by the central umpire. I think Pete's certainly a little frustrated here with some of the line calls, Sandy. That last serve was called good by the service linesman, and Pete just gave him a rueful look. Central umpire overruled, unfortunately for him.
Ace number 15 to hold serve. Philippoussis has a 5-4 lead in the second set.
Well, how are you doing at home? Are we about to make you a millionaire?
I hope so. Next ball down is number 17.
And an official warm welcome to our official scrutineers.
Indeed, next ball, number 40. And what would you do with $1 million?
The mind boggles. Next ball is down.
34.
And here's the lucky last ball.
Good luck.
Take a shot at $1 million. Apply for an ANZ home loan before January 31.
It's on at Homebush, the biggest home improvement sale. At Sleep City, beautiful beds at great savings. Queen Anne Cambridge save $100, Rosie save $200. Only at Sleep City. On sale now, Homebush Home Improvement Centre.
Real pineapple. Real flavour.
Pete Sampras hasn't been serving at full tilt. He's at 4-5 now in the second. Philippoussis, as far as serving's concerned, has not put a foot wrong today. But we know that he can go walkabout on the odd service game. In the meantime, here's Sampras.
Well, put that one down to the wind.
Yeah.
It's come up a little bit more gusty from the northeast. A bit of a warm breeze, isn't it? It's not quite a north wind as we know it, but
it's the next best thing.
Yeah, and it's causing some problems on the court for both players.
You can probably hear it gusting through the effects microphones now.
A good backhand there. Philippoussis, that's the one he wanted on the break point. Just stepping in, meeting the ball early. And 2 points from the match now, Mark Philippoussis. And that mistake could be very costly. Match point, Philippoussis. Well, he got it back into play, Mark. It was not an easy shot because the serve was almost perfect.
And that one was just his 5th ace for the match. Cross-court forehand, a winner, and Philippoussis stays in the game. And again, Sampras having a battle on serve.
Advantage Sampras.
Well, footwork not quite there for Pete.
Advantage Sampras. Game Sampras.
Again, a struggle, but he holds serve, and we meander towards another tiebreaker situation. 5 apiece. As we've said, the Philippoussis serve has looked unbreakable.
The intensity level not quite there for Pete at the moment. Not getting enough balls back into play, is he? It's looking like he's expecting a tiebreaker here. There's one of those smokers.
14.
Philippoussis holds serve, and we'll be back to see if Pete Sampras can force the tiebreaker.
Philippoussis needs 6 games to win.
Smart Chat. Instead of giving you real animals in our advertising, we give you real savings on your phone calls, like these.
AAP, AAPT, Smart Chat, AA.
This year's muster's been the biggest yet. Because the folk behind it need even more barbecues for their new bigger flavour barbecue shapes. Its shapes. Whoa! The flavour you can see just got bigger.
Mark Philippoussis flying the Australian flag. Pete Sampras, the American. Sampras serving now to level at 6-all and force a second straight tiebreak.
Well, not an easy shot there. It was a deep volley. And Mark didn't quite have enough time to get back into position and then move forward as he made the shot. But you don't often see Pete Sampras miss a ball by that far. Sprayed that one wide and long by about 10 feet.
Tiebreaker time.
6 games all, second set. Tie.
Well, certainly the ease in which Philippoussis has held his serve in this match has been contributed to by Pete. Has made enough returns. On the line.
Two, one. Philippoussis. Three, one. Philippoussis.
Oh. Well, he'll be disappointed with that mark. He had plenty of court to hit that one into. And that's the danger you flirt with if you try to overplay too many balls, hit them so hard. He possibly could have taken a little bit off that one. So Sampras back in it now. That one's good. Did a few of those running forehand passes across court with sharp angle today, Philippoussis. That one probably as good as we've seen. Moves quickly here. Not a bad volley by Pete, but it's dangerous when you give players of this caliber a running hit at their forehand.
Philippoussis.
Well, when you go that way with a forehand, there's less margin for error, Sandy, but he's still good enough to get into position to hit this for a cold winner. The safer shot is probably back away to the Sampras backhand, but he saw the opening and went for it. Oh, that's good hitting.
He's now set himself up with 3 match points.
6-3. Philippoussis.
Sampras serving to stay in it.
Philippoussis.
Now the opportunity for Philippoussis with his serve to come. Still the 1 match point.
Broken string, and there's the match.
Philippoussis in straight sets in 1 hour and 20 minutes.
7-6. 7-6.
is into the final. He will play Andre Agassi tomorrow here at Kooyong after a 7-6, 7-6 win over Pete Sampras. We'll take a break and be back with more shortly. Mark Philippoussis through to the final to play Andre Agassi tomorrow after successfully accounting for Pete Sampras in 2 tiebreaker sets, 7-6, 7-6, in a match lasting just on 2 hours. The Philippoussis serve didn't let him down today, Fitzy. We'll be able to see that by the stats, although the percentage of first serves in for Philippoussis was down 52%. His percentage of winning them, an extraordinary 91%.
Yeah, Pete really didn't get enough balls back into play. That was the bottom line for him. He never made any inroads at all against the Mark Philippoussis serve. And 52% is probably not as high as Mark would like, but to win 91% of them, well, that's over the top. Pete's first serve, on the other hand, was up to 68%, but a lot of his were 3/4 pace first serves.
Well, we've got a lot more tennis still to come this afternoon. The countdown is